And this one is super juicy because who are you to get your head in someone else's wallet and decide what's of value to them?
Yes, I think so. I think I can do it. Okay, do you think you can double that, right? In a year. Yeah. It's like, yeah, okay, I think I can. And at the end, she ended up signing up, right? I should have called in the seminar and be like, hey, where's my commission? But
staying present with that person and holding them accountable to what they already said. I can't remember who said it, but there was a master coach who said, you can't coach on what your client doesn't say.
We've got some
Hey,
fresh
I'm
new
Luis.
young talent
And I'm
doing some
Luis.
things that
And
I
you're
know
listening to the
haven't heard
Content is
before.
Profit podcast.
where we talk about entrepreneurship, mindset, and of course, how to turn your content into profit.
But most importantly, we are here to have a good time with you, baby. So go to contentsprofit.com to get started today and join the community. That was smooth.
Finally.
So we got this version done.
Yeah, it took us like 5 times to get this version right, but we've done it.
Hey.
Good job.
What are we talking about today now that this was so smooth?
That's true. Today we're talking all about making revenue growth predictable. Woo!
Yes,
this
please.
is going to be an awesome topic.
Tell me more.
I know.
All right. Hey, do we have a sponsor today?
Great question, good sir. Indeed, we do have a sponsor.
Yes.
Today's sponsor is your own BIZBROS. Yes, we
That's right.
sponsor our own podcast with content momentum. And you might be asking yourself, what is content momentum? Well, if you produce a long-form piece of content just like this one that you're listening to or watching, and you want to leverage your time and your effort and produce daily consistent content, we are here to help you out with your fractional content team. So make sure you slide in the DMs at BIZBROSCO on Facebook, on Instagram. We are ready to help you out.
That's right. And if you are enjoying these episodes every Tuesday, Thursdays, and Saturdays, go ahead and follow the show in your favorite podcasting platform so you don't miss anything and you can take action and grow your business and also your life.
That is right. And if today's guest helped you move one step closer towards your goal, please don't forget to share this episode with 3 friends. That is your ticket of admission and leave a 5-star review. Thank you.
I have a question for you. How would it feel to double your business every year for the next 3 years? Yes, that's exactly what today's guest has done for the last 3 years.
Woohoo! You know what to do. Pen and paper. Today's guest will help you stand out in the coaching and consulting industry with a unique value proposition while sharing the lessons that have generated millions in revenue for her clients.
Oh, baby, can't wait. She is the CEO of The Great Do-Over, founder of Launch Lab for Women Entrepreneurs, and host of the Life After Corporate podcast. She is the real deal.
That is right. Please welcome, and I apologize in advance because her last name is French and the pronunciation is very unique, the one and only Debra Boulanger. Debra.
Hey, you guys did that so well.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was nervous there for a little bit. I started sweating. I was like, oh, is the pronunciation going to be okay? But I'm glad, Debra, you made it here. We're so excited. And thank you so much.
Oh, such a pleasure to be here with you guys. You're so much fun.
I appreciate it. I think the fun is on this side only. FONZI sometimes, he can be, sometimes.
Yeah,
we'll
it
see.
happens once in a while. So, Debra, we got connected, but the one and only Adam Scheibel, he's been on the podcast. He's absolutely amazing. I feel like right now, Adam he's in the top of the leaderboard of recommended guests for this podcast. So thank you, Adam. Shout out for you.
Yeah.
But for those that don't know you, Debra, right? We have a conversation before. I've met you. We had a previous call. But for those that don't know who Debra is, can you share a little bit about your story and how did you get to where you are right now?
Yeah. So, I was a good corporate citizen. I drank the Kool-Aid that you went to college, you got a job, you moved around a little bit in your job and you climbed that corporate ladder. And that worked for me until it didn't. I spent 20 years in product development, product management, product marketing, which means I'm selling services. I'm creating and selling services in that space. And then I decided that I wanted to live more of my life. I had a son who was 13 and I had never been to many of his soccer games and all the stuff that was going on in his life. So I decided to make the leap and start my own coaching business.
I love it. So part of the people that listen to, including us, it's we from the very beginning probably we rejected corporate or like that the idea of corporate from a very early stage, especially us. We're like, we're not gonna go there, right? And we didn't. We just found different ways to kind of finance our adventure so far, right? But there's a lot of people that might be in that position that made that choice. Like, what drove you first to drive that choice, and then obviously how were you able to make that final decision? Obviously, your son and your family was a big driver, but like, what do you remember the moment you made that decision to fully transition?
Yeah, I do. I was hitting burnout, and personally, I was getting a divorce in real life. And with that son being 13, I just wanted to be a rock for him, really, for whatever transition was going to happen. And I just knew that I had enough knowledge that had accumulated in the 20 years or so that I'd been in the corporate world. And I knew how to package, price, sell things and market. And so it was easy. I mean, now I wake up in the morning, and I don't know if you guys do this too. It's just like I pinch myself that I get to create services, and I get to be on air and podcasts like this and give webinars and meet with people one-on-one or in groups and invite them to join me, and they pay me for what I do. And I think it's the sweetest deal in the universe. And if everyone knew how sweet it was, more people would do it. And it would be an even more crowded channel than it is already.
Yes, absolutely. It is a blessing to, step into that role and be like, wow, I get to do something that I'm passionate about and help other people with this as well, right? And don't get me wrong, there's obviously ups and downs, plenty of challenges. I mean, lately I've had a few conversations with some friends, and when I go to the challenges side of the conversation, I tell them like, hey, yeah, it is tough, but I wouldn't change it for anything. Like the level of growth that I've achieved just because of going through those experiences has been absolutely amazing. So, talking about ups and downs, I'm sure you've had many once you left that corporate world, right? What had been a few of the most remarkable challenges you've had to conquer throughout your journey?
I think, making money, right? So let's be honest. This is not a path for people who are risk adverse, and you need to be able to fund your transition and pay yourself or pay your bills while you're building up the momentum in your business. But, secret that I'll reveal is that I started my business as a health coach. I had gone through that midlife transition and decided to get super healthy. And I was so passionate about health and wellness and spiritual, physical, emotional health that I started coaching women who were reinventing themselves in midlife. That's where the great do-over came from. And then what I noticed is, because I had been divorced and started dating again, that there were a lot of women out there who were super afraid, or they had all these stories about what would happen when they went out and started dating again. They were saying, oh, all the good men are already taken, or men my age only want to date younger women. And so I started coaching women who were going back to dating after 40. And so that was one path I went down until it was like a really tough road. Like that was really tough.
Yeah.
That was a tough line of business. And then I realized after my son had gone to college that with all the entrepreneurs I had been around, they really struggled with finding their value proposition, marketing their services, and putting a price on that, and learning how to sell. Because you guys know, when you start your own business, you are content creation, your product development, your sales, your marketing, your human resources, your finance, your all of those things. And so I came equipped with a lot of skills in how to find that gap in the market that everyone else is missing, so that you can create a product that really sells. And that once I discovered that, and I started testing it out with a few of the women entrepreneurs that I had in my circle, they were like, "Oh my God, Deb, where were you when we first got started?"
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. Can I throw a little comment in there before you ask the next smart question?
Sure.
You mentioned it. We've actually kind of like touched base on this in a few episodes of the podcast, which is serving your journey, right? It's like what you're going through, you notice so clearly there are problems in here, and I want to solve them. I want to help the people that are, maybe 1-2 steps behind me with what I'm doing. And that is so important to recognize that. And I feel like it's such a natural thing because, again, we have stages in our life where, that stage of your life, you were, out dating and learning about these problems that other women had. And now you evolve and you pivot as well. And you're in a different journey and you're helping people as well. You are, 2, 3, or like 100 steps ahead of the people that you're trying to help as well. But I just find that so incredible because, especially for people that are trying to do that transition, right? Mm-hmm. And let's call it that transition from the corporate world to the entrepreneurial world. What is probably one of the easiest way to find what to sell? Look at your journey, right? What stage in your journey have you been passionate about that you can look back at and say, wow, there are problems surrounding that area that many people have that I could potentially serve them, right? And I think that's a good stepping stone, a first stepping stone to actually build a business. That's actually kind of like how it happened to us when we transitioned into the digital world.
Yeah, absolutely. I think like with the story that you just shared, right? Like there's a moment where, you start with something because it's the thing that's connected to you, right? It's the thing that you're doing and you're sharing, and people are like, how do you do that, right? For example, for us, it's like, how do you guys run the show? How do you guys do it live? How do you guys do it 3 times a week? Like all these questions, right?
Caffeine. That's the answer. Lots of caffeine.
And then obviously there's different sections of the thing that we do, but a lot of questions, as soon as we started being consistent, that's what was happening. But also, you also recognized that maybe for you, that market or that solution did not fit, like it wasn't the perfect fit for you, so you adapt it, right? And that's okay. And sometimes, we've gone through this where when it was a decision to actually decide on content momentum, and the thing that we do now for the last 2 years was really hard for us to let go of the other things, because it was like the second moment again, be like, oh my gosh, like we're doing all these things, but like if we let go of that, like we let it go of our jobs before, what's gonna happen, right? It's like, it's that trust. What is like a mental framework that you go through to do that? Have you had that experience multiple times, or it was just that one time and then you kind of deep dive into the solution that you provide now?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I want to go back and say I got the guy and I launched the business.
Yes.
So
Let's go.
So
studio clap.
Standing ovation. Standing ovation from the crowd.
And, what I realized is, people get tripped up no matter what area of the world you're helping to solve, whatever problem you're helping to solve. For in the online dating world, it was like, oh, the last time I dated, people met at parties and bars, and there was no such thing as Hinge or Tinder or OkCupid. And so I had learned how to kind of game the algorithms to get better results, so I could teach that to other people.
Yeah.
But what happens when we leave a job and we go to launch a business is we're so focused on what's new that we're doing, is that we forget all of the years of experience that we have, that we brought to this new situation. And so for me, when I looked at it and saw that, what I could really help with, what would get me super excited to get out of bed in the morning, is to help other entrepreneurs launch and grow their businesses, to be financially successful and financially independent. And for women, I think that was especially important, especially after divorce. I saw so many women just lose everything when they lost that relationship. So part of me saw that, but also saw that, I had done decades of market research. And if I can give your viewers one thing to take away, is too often we come up with what we think is a good idea. And then we put it out there in the marketplace and no one wants to buy it. There's crickets, right?
Yeah.
And so I think doing the due diligence and creating demand before you start building out supply, making sure people want to buy what you're selling, is the very first step in being successul in entrepreneurship.
I love.
So how do we go about doing that, right? And I love this because I remember very clearly the very first big investment that we did in ourselves and in the business, right? This mentorship or mentor said, you got to leave your ego aside. You cannot just say, I'm going to build this and then I'm just going to put it out into the world, right? Because it could be a wasted effort, right? You need to let the market vote with their wallet, because that's different things as well. You can show up with a product and tell them, hey, what do you think about this? And somebody can tell you, oh, it's absolutely amazing. But then you can ask them to buy and they can be like, oh, not right now. Thank you. Right. Or maybe later. And you're like, okay, well, there's some sort of dissonance in there between what you're telling me and your action. So let them vote with their wallet. So I love this, right? So how do we go about doing this due diligence and finding out what is it that we can put out into the market?
You ask your clients, what's your biggest challenge? So you guys are all about content for profit, right? So what is your biggest challenge with making money from the content that you produce?
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, those open-ended questions and being a really curious listener. So the first step is really be curious. You know, get to know the people that you think you want to serve. And in that process, you'll get to know who's an ideal client and who's not. I mean, I'm sure you guys have experience working with people that were just like nightmares to work with, and you never want to repeat that experience. And then there are other clients that you work with where you wake up in the morning, you see that they're on your calendar, and you say, oh my God, yay, I get to work with Deb today. She's so much fun.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what it's about, is finding out what makes your clients tick. And if you do a great job, I just had my Launch Lab cohort today, and we were talking about this, and I gave an example of what really good market research looks like. So when you do a good job of asking questions, and you start spotting the patterns, people will say the same things over and over again.
Yeah.
You know, people will say, you know, I have all this stuff on my Instagram feed. I mean, I'm just channeling what you guys might be thinking.
Yeah.
I have all this stuff on my Instagram feed, but none of it's paying off. I can't figure out what's not working and what is working.
Yeah.
And so that's a key indicator that your clients don't understand how to use content to engage with their audience. And maybe they've bought followers. Maybe they have hired a social media person, but they're still not getting that traction. And so having those conversations, you get to uncover what's the challenge, what have they already tried, what have they already invested in solutions that don't work, what looks like the right solution to them. So you could say, hey, I've got this package deal, but what your clients really want is more hand-holding. You know, they want more coaching. They want more mentoring.
Yeah.
Well, that's a higher end solution. So if you uncover that gap and you're the only one who's offering it, guess what? You get to stand out in your market. You get to charge a premium price, and you get to own that space for being that person who delivers this great level of education, service, and results.
Yeah, absolutely. I love this aspect of it because, and here's like when we first started, we had 7 different things, right? That came from maybe like 20, 30 conversations that we had at the time with the people that we were dealing with, small business, like gyms, dentists, like that kind of business, right? And each one of them needed something different. At the time we were freelancing, and we're like, okay, we'll execute on that and we'll execute on this. And we ended up with 7 different things, right? And then we had the really hard conversation of, well, what people, even though we enter like with these things, they always go back to content, right? The people are like, well, we want more content and we want more and this and that for their whatever reasons that they had at the time. And we're like, we had to sit down, and we're like, Fonzie was really adamant on going the email route, right? He was like, I really want to try the email side of things. And then I was like, well, content is really like what people keep asking. And we had like this discussion of like, where do we go? And ultimately is what people were asking. So we decided to do that because that was the second thing that we really enjoyed. My first thing, but Fonzie's second thing, and he really enjoys writing. And we're like, okay, the commitment was that. And then that led us to the path of like, okay, perfect. And as soon as we launched the show, same thing, feedback of people that consume that type of content, that do that, they started asking questions. And, you know, for us, we were just having this conversation yesterday when I called you. It's like, we now have people in a group and we're like, let's ask them this series of questions, and we're trying to figure out those questions to find out what the real need is, right? The first need is consistency, right? With the people that try to publish, right? That's the first friction point. And then it's like, okay, how do they need support? Maybe it's a community, maybe it's something different, maybe it's not the service, right? What comes before the service? And so that has been like the game in the last like couple of months, and it has been pretty interesting. It's been fun to kind of find that out as well.
Can I go in there real quick? There's something that you mentioned multiple times, and before asking this question, I gotta make reference to. I can tell you are a master salesman. Like the way you just explained this is it's amazing, right? The way on discovering, it can be written on how you're discovering people's pain, what they try, their journey that they've had, all this to figure out what is the right option for them that is going to help them achieve their goals, right? At the end of the day, our job is to help them achieve their goals. And sometimes we might not be the right fit for them, right? And we just need to help them make the right decision. That being said, I know, and we've had such a difficult time with this, specifically when we're starting, is how do we price our services, right? How do we, what is our offer going to look like? And you've mentioned right now, since kind of like the very beginning of the conversation, right? Since your corporate world, that you knew how to package, price, and sell. And I think that is something that you've leveraged, that skill, and you brought it with you into the entrepreneurial world. And now I know it's a big part of what you do. You actually have a kind of, I don't remember the exact name, but it's like that calculator that you use as your lead magnet for people.
The pricing calculator.
Yeah, the pricing calculator, right? And I think that is amazing. I think that is an incredible tool, because we struggle with that. It's like, okay, how much are we going to charge for this? And the first thing to do is like, oh, let me check what the competitors are doing. Guess what?
Right,
and you're just getting in the same bucket as they are, instead of let me see how I can, over deliver to the people that I'm trying to serve and charge that premium. So I'm curious, when it comes to package, pricing, and selling, right? And I can tell you're dancing over here.
The secret sauce.
What is it that helped these entrepreneurs finally figure it out?
Yeah. Well, I'm going to start with what not to do, right? And you mentioned number one. The first thing people usually do is look at the market and say, well, what are other people charging? What will the market bear? And like you said, you were spot on, Fonzie, you're going to look like, sound like, price like everyone else. And so you're indistinguishable from anyone else in the marketplace, right? The second thing they do is they charge by the hour. Right. And I know I'm speaking to some people out there who just went, I charge by the hour, because no one's buying your time. And when you charge by the hour, people start counting up the number of hours that you've put in, and they start evaluating the results based on the time that you've put in, or they hesitate calling you because they don't want to rack up more hours and rack up more fees. And so it's really a lose-lose situation for both you and the client. And the other major mistake that people make when they price their services is they price based on what they think their client can afford. And this one is super juicy, because who are you to get your head in someone else's wallet and decide what's of value to them? So when we decide for someone else what they can afford, we actually rob them of the ability to invest in themselves, to improve themselves, to get something that they desperately want, because our ego got in the way, our self-esteem got in the way, and we said, oh no, I can't ask this person to charge that. So those are the three pricing mistakes. Wow. 3 out of 5. Those are the big ones. And so how you price is based on, are you ready? Do you have a drum roll?
We can give you one. There we go.
All right. So how you price your services is based on your return on advantage, your ROA. So let me unpack this a little bit for you. Your ROA is the result that your ideal client gets from working with you. And it might not be an immediate return on investment, like, you did content for us for 6 months. What was our result of that? It's the result of that impact over time. All right. So if I teach you the skills of how to identify the unmet market need, how to package, price, message your services, what is the ultimate value of that to you as a business owner?
For us?
Yeah. Well, anyone. Yeah, go ahead. What's the ultimate value of that?
exponential. I mean, it like a lot, probably like, I don't know if a number comes to mind, but it's like, it's something that could last many, many years, right? And you can take that with you. And exactly.
I knew I liked you, Luis.
Yes, thank God. Okay, yes, success.
Yes. It's the exponential value over time. And so I just do a little mental math when I'm pricing, right? So if I'm pricing a service at, say, $5,000, my mental math is, can I get that person 10x that investment within a particular period of time? Will they learn enough here that they can go off and generate 10 times the amount that they invested in me within, let's say, a year to 18 months at most? So excellent. That's kind of what I think about. And when you start having these conversations with your ideal clients in those, or your prospects in these sales situations, then you'll automatically stand out because you're elevating the conversation beyond hours and output. You're talking about what is the end result that your client really wants, and what's the business or personal reason that they want it.
Yeah.
Because even if you're selling to businesses, you're selling to human beings, and human beings make emotional decisions.
Yeah, absolutely. As you're explaining this, I'm going in my head through obviously the sales opportunities maybe that we've had, and also I'm kind of like on the operating side as well, like helping with the team and like the process. Like for example, this morning in our daily huddle, we had I made a comment about the sheet where we track all the projects, and it's divided in different sections, right? And then the idea was to consolidate everything into like one section alone, because the time that we lose in communication or like transitioning those tasks to different things because it's manual now, exponentially, right, is going to save us a ton of time. So we're interested in, okay, how many more projects can we take on a month, 2 months, 3 months, 5, 6, 12 months, right? If we do this change this week, for example, right? And then I remember Fonzie had a really awesome conversation with one of our guests, and this guy is like an expert cold caller, right? And we're talking about the content, and we did a live role play. I think was it on his platform?
Yeah, on his podcast.
On his show, he's like, why don't you sell me right now? And we're like, sounds good, let's go. And for him, his superpower is cold calling, right? So the conversation that we had was, okay, how many hours are you investing today or a week in creating your content, the multi-purposing aspect of it, distribution, and it was something like 3-4 hours, like a week at that point, right? Sounds good. Like how many calls can you make in 3 or 4 hours, right? And then we went down that route, and it was like, for him, it was such like the picture was so clear. Mm-hmm. We ended up signing and we ended up working with him, like which was it was a success story. But those are things that maybe we should be doing more as well. But sometimes it slips through. What do you think? Like sometimes it slips through. We go back to default. Maybe is it the indoctrination that we had, or like because we're not familiar with sales or we're not familiar with the service? Like, do you see this problem with the people that you help?
Well, sales is a tricky thing because it's hard not to let your self-esteem get caught up in the fact that people are buying you, right? And I think if you flip it, what worked for the accelerator clients this week was that, it's not about you when you're in a sales conversation. It's all about the other person. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you are a conduit. So you have to be good. And obviously that podcast host where you were a guest on was very, very skilled in the discovery process of what was it that you needed, what was it that you wanted, what would motivate you. And you also have to be skilled at helping people get out of their own way, because there's all sorts of resistance to being sold, right? Yeah. We all have been pitched in our Facebook Messenger or LinkedIn Messenger feed. Yeah. And it's crazy how many people are just trying to pitch you. Mm-hmm. So engaging people in meaningful conversation and not making it about you, but making it about them, and helping them get past their internal boundaries, their internal resistance. Yeah. To investing in themselves. I don't know if guys have the same thing or not, because I sell mostly to women. Yeah. But women just don't invest in themselves. I mean, they'll buy anything for their kids. They'll help out anyone at the drop of a hat. But when it comes to investing in themselves, they tend to have a lot of resistance around that.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I remember this was about maybe 3 years ago. My girlfriend, she was at, I think it was like a seminar or something like that. And the main person that was hosted the event, she was selling her accelerator. I think it was like $5,000 for the year. And I remember she called me and she was like, this sounds amazing, but I don't know if I should do it. She just gave me all of the resistance, right? And I was like, is it going to help you achieve your goal, right? Do you think it's going to, just a conversation that we have right now, do you think you can at least recover those $5,000 with what you're going to learn, with the skills, right, that you're going to learn through this program? It's like, yes, I think so. I think I can do it. Okay, do you think you can double that, right? In a year. Yeah. It's like, yeah, okay, I think I can. And at the end, she ended up signing up, right? I should have called in the seminar and be like, hey, where's my commission? But like you said, is true. And it's the same on the guys' side of things, right? I do think some people, when you achieve a certain level and when you realize the value of investing on yourself, it becomes way easier because now you have the identity of the person that wants to improve, right? The person that is willing to invest in themselves. But at first, just like you're saying, there's so much resistance because we have an identity that is like maybe scars on money, right? Or mindset is not an abundant mindset. So to do that investment, we need to step into the new identity of, okay, I am the person that is investing in myself and that I can improve. And there's resistance between those two, right? That thing that you're calling resistance is that different between those two identities. And it's very, very challenging. And I actually had this epiphany about 2 weeks ago. I called my brother after a sales call. And I was like, man, I remember this thing I heard in a podcast. This guy was talking about how he asked everybody, who do you want to be? Right? Like who do you want to be? Who do you want to become? And I'm going to hold you accountable of that person. Like if you act not in accordance to who you're telling me you want to be, I'm going to call you out. Right? So I see this happening a lot in like sales calls, and I finally realized, right, that was the epiphany, that people were telling me like, yes, I want that, and I want the platform, and I want the podcast, and I want to connect with influential people. But then at the time of making a decision, they were taking a decision with the identity of now that they had at the moment, instead of going to that place of what would that person with the platform, with the connections, how would they make that decision, right? And it's my job to hold them accountable and tell them, hey, you want to be here. What is that? What do you think? What do you believe is the right decision for you to make, right? And again, that resistance is huge. But like you mentioned, we're doing this for them. If we don't do it, it's just a disservice at the end of the day.
That's right.
Yeah.
So when you get those objections, good for you, Fonzie, because you were staying present with that person. Staying present with that person and holding them accountable to what they already said. I can't remember who said it, but there was a master coach who said, you can't coach on what your client doesn't say. So the whole process of having a discovery call or a sales conversation is to help your prospective client understand where are they now and how is that holding them back from where they want to be. And what happens if nothing changes? And I love the way you reframed that. Well, here's the person that you're becoming. What decision would that person make in this situation? Or on the reverse side of that coin, you could also say, has this type of thinking gotten in the way in the past? Has this prevented you from getting what you really want? And is this the type of thinking that you're bringing into this conversation right now?
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
so that's another way. Whatever works for you. There's no one perfect sales script. And I think the most important thing is that you're authentic and that you work on your sales skills. I think it's really important. And I got to say, Fonzie, when you opened this up, you made me sound like I had all of these rad skills that I was bringing to this. I want you to know that I was petrified to speak in public.
Wow.
So I had all these skills, but they were very introverted skills. Market research,
Yeah.
product development was all behind the scenes. I was not up front. I did not love sales. So this is a learned behavior on my part. So if you think I'm skilled at it now, then thank you very much. I worked very hard, and and talk about coaching. I coach with a coach every year. It's my most precious decision, is who I'm going to pay to be my coach this year.
Wow.
Love it.
Because it's so important that someone bring you to the next level.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
This is so good in many ways. I'm very curious. Why do you decide to publish, right? Because like you mentioned, the introvert skills, you worked really hard to get to where you are now, right? Like I'm publishing is not easy for the majority of people, right? Like
specifically for introverted
people. Like for, a little bit of our story is, I think we consider ourselves, Fonzie considers himself a weirdo. I'm kidding. He considers himself an ambivert, right? Like he can adapt a little bit. And I consider myself a little bit more of an extrovert. And personally, I personally didn't really have an issue with the camera in my face. I had the issue with the camera in my face out there in public, right? So like online, it wasn't an issue. It was like when I was recording with people around me.
Because then you're the weirdo.
Then I'm the weirdo. But we've worked through that, right? And today just an example where like in our team call, and we are just singing and doing this like crazy speech in the middle of a coffee shop, and everyone's looking and like, hey, that's me, right? But he came after like 2 years of doing this thing. So what led you to publish consistently like you are now? Because there's a lot of people in that position where like they're trying to fight that and be like, okay, I know I need it, I know it's necessary, I know it's gonna help me, but I'm finding some resistance there.
Yeah. So I grew up in a different generation. Like, flash alert, I didn't grow up with a cell phone in my hand. So I wasn't in high school and college taking selfies. So the reason why I gravitated toward podcasting was because I could speak into a microphone and I didn't have to be on camera. And then, I hire Adam Scheibele to produce my podcast. He was like, what's really good, Deb, is if you get on YouTube and you publish your video as well as your audio on your podcast. And, I have a social media agency that I work with too. And they're like, Deb, just do a reel. It's not easy. So here, let's break this down. There's a difference between self-esteem and self-confidence. I have a lot of self-esteem. I'm not always confident in front of the camera. And confidence is actually easier to overcome, because self-esteem is like what you were talking about before, Fonzie, with like the scarcity mindset, the messages you got as a kid, the things that really weighed you down, right? And confidence is about doing things that feel hard that you've never done before. So I got confident speaking when I created a framework for closing clients through webinars. And once I realized that framework really worked for me, then I just, you haven't asked me yet, but how I doubled my business year after year after year was I just dialed in on what was working. And in 2020, everyone was asking, oh my God, who knows how to do a good webinar? I even built a course called Standout Webinars on how to give excellent webinars and close people every time you speak. So all of that to say is that I was an introvert. I was on TV when I was 5 years old. I fell flat on my face. I was mortified. I was so embarrassed. Internally, I think I made a vow never to be seen again on camera. So you overcome that stuff. And having good coaches is how you do it.
I think I think it can be boiled down to doing the reps, right? And being in the right environment. That is massive as well, because if you are surrounding yourself with people that do not publish, do not do any of the things that you want to do, the resistance is just gonna get bigger, right? Like the human behavior automatically kind of like molds to your environment. So if we're putting ourselves with people that are not action takers and not willing to put themselves out there, that's what's gonna happen, right? And that, I think that's why the value of community lately has been, soaring, because people want to be either with a community that is going to level up, right? Or some people just want a community that's going to help them stay right where they are in their comfort zone. And I wanted to transition to that. Like, how did you double your business every year for 3 years in a row, which is absolutely mind blowing? And you already kind of mentioned there the webinar, right? Can you guide us a little bit more in depth, right? Maybe, I mean, you can share all the secrets if you want to, right? But the whole idea is for people to be like, wow, I want to experience one of these webinars, right? So what are some of the key elements that people should look for when trying to implement a webinar strategy inside of their business?
Well, yeah, and if you want to learn the webinar framework, I'm actually doing a webinar tomorrow on the pricing masterclass. So tomorrow I do the pricing masterclass. Later on in February, I do the Convert Clients When You Speak webinar. But we can drop those links later on in your group for people who want to do that.
Absolutely.
But webinars might not be your strategy, right? So the way you double your business is you have to, it goes back to dating. It goes back to the analytics of, paying for the A-list on OkCupid and changing the criteria, including like maybe changing your zip code to get new talent in the pool. It's like dialing in on what works for you, looking back at, who are my ideal clients and where did they come from, and spotting the patterns. And they all came from that networking group I belong to. Well, let me spend some more time there and let me offer my services there. Maybe I can teach more on their curriculum. What I noticed was when I had at least 3 speaking engagements a month on other people's platforms, that was also important because it was beyond my warm audience. I mean, you can't deliver a webinar every month to your mailing list unless you're getting a lot of new names and new contacts on your mailing list. So you have to go out and you have to shop your skills around and say, hey, I can provide content. And you guys know the value of content. Yeah. When you're providing valuable content on other people's platforms, they're thrilled. Mm-hmm. So I realized that if I did that 4 times a month, that I would meet my revenue goals. And so that's how I dialed that in. And by listening to the market, when my clients graduated from the Launch Lab, they had their products, packaging and pricing and messaging. They were like, Deb, how do I sell? And, how do I grow a mailing list? And how do I start a podcast? And so that clued me in that I didn't want to put everything in that Launch Lab. So I created a year-long program called the 6-Figure Accelerator. Yes. And the purpose of that program is to make 6-figure growth predictable in your business. Yeah. So if you have a number, and the pricing calculator is great fun to play with, there's only 3 levers you can move. Number 1, you can raise your prices. You can, number 2, add a new product to your portfolio based on what your clients are asking you for. Yeah. Not put it into the old product, but create something new. And 3 is to dial in your sales and marketing. So, right now we know that people are responding to personal connections, right? So social selling is a whole new category of how to connect with prospects. But how many people are actually going out there and every time they do one of these speaking engagements, connecting with everyone who is in that event and connecting with them on Facebook or connecting with them on LinkedIn and starting a conversation as if you were having coffee at a coffee shop. Yep. Instead of going out and sending someone a link and pitching them your stuff. Yeah. It's like, hey, it was so nice to meet you. What did you take away from that session? I'm just curious.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this morning I was going through the LinkedIn messages and there are probably like 5 of those. And I was like, yeah, not interested. Thank you. Good luck.
Yeah. I mean, plot twist. That's the whole reason why we have the podcast, right? Is to increase the value of our network and make real, strong relationships, right? With people like you, Debra, right? That are successful in their field. And we're like, we want to connect and, explore the relationship and see where this goes. Example, Adam, right? Adam came on the show. I don't want to spoil a surprise, so I'm not going to say exactly what happened after. But Adam was very happy, and he started referring people to our podcast. Like, man, I got this guy. He has this cool stash, and he speaks amazing. We're like, awesome. Send him our way. His name is Brian Boger, right? He became a really good friend of us. Now, he came the other day. He's like, hey, man, I got Debra here. She's absolutely amazing. She's super successful. I was like, introduce her to us, right? It's amazing. And we had a previous call, and then I was like, yeah, you are absolutely amazing. Why don't you come to the show, right? Yeah. And it's the whole point is to build those deep relationships that can lead to an opportunity, right? Regardless of how that opportunity looks like. And it can be an opportunity for you, right? Or it could be an opportunity for us, or it could be an opportunity for both of us, right? And it's that age of deeper connections instead of just start blasting everybody. I guess the challenge would be, how do you make those deeper connections a little bit more at scale, right? And is that what you're working on right now?
Yeah. So, man, I got a teaching point for every question you have.
Perfect.
So this one is curate your referral network, because what you just described is a referral network. And so you want to partner with people who share maybe the same ideal client audience, but they offer something different. And you partner with them, you do podcast swaps, or maybe you present to their audience, or you partner in some other way. A couple weekends ago, it was so nice to be out in person. I live 100 miles outside of New York City, and partnered with a colleague of mine who is a leadership coach for women. And she has the Women's Leadership Academy, and I have the Six Figure Accelerator. And she loves to host events, and she curates the whole experience. I love to create the content. She hates to create the content. So we were just a marriage made in heaven. And we created this weekend event. We had this beautiful dinner at the National Arts Club in Gramercy Park in New York. And then we met at my co-working space, and we did a day of mindset work. And it was, everyone was so blown away. They really enjoyed meeting each other. Absolutely. And here we've created a powerful referral partnership. And so that's kind of the different partnerships you can have: content partnerships, referral partnerships.
Yeah.
Affiliate partnerships.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so powerful.
It's funny. A quick reflection here. It's like, especially when we publish, right? Like for those that are already doing it or think about doing it, sometimes we look outside to find these leads and people and like new people. And sometimes within our own network, we just like have to like turn around a little bit and be like, those are already there. Like, can I work on these relationships? Can I just like send them a quick message like, hey man, how's it going? Right. For example, yesterday we sent a DM to Kennedy, right? They do email marketing and different things. And it was just a quick voice note. It was like, hey Kennedy, dude, thank you. Like, how's it going? He's from England, right? How are you guys doing? And they're launching all these things. And we're like, hey, by the way, like we're thinking about doing this thing. Can we jump on a 10-minute call to grab some feedback and collaborate and see how we can do it? And it's part of the same audience. But those things, sometimes we forget of the people that we've met, and we just have to turn around and just like say hello again, right? And the opportunity might be there instead of always trying to go outside and find new ways. I just, it was so close. Like, it's happened this week a lot. We've been reconnecting with a lot of people, and it's been great feedback, right? So don't forget that too for those listening.
Yeah, I think people want to.
Great point, Luis.
Oh, sorry, go ahead, Debra.
Oh, sorry, I'm acting as host.
Oh no, perfect. This is the whole point of it. Take over.
Take
please.
over. For people who are watching, I just want to capitalize on what you just said and turn that into a teaching point, which is, make a list of 25 people you already know in your network and make the ask. And next time you have an event coming up, ask people to share for you, ask people to post for you, ask people to email to their network. Because, if you want to make six-figure revenue growth predictable in your business, which is where we started, then these are the things that you dial in, and you look at the things that are creating a distraction and have no return, right? So if you're doing something, even a marketing strategy, but you're not getting any return on that effort, no ROE, then you stop doing that and you just dial in your own behavior and your own focus. And I love what you said before, Luis, when you were like batching your tasks, because, attention switching really costs you. So the last thing you do is you map out your CEO calendar you start for the whole year. So I'm geeking out on this book called The One Thing.
Oh, so good.
And have you heard of it?
Yes.
Yeah, we have it right here. That was actually one of the books that led us to this journey.
Yeah, this is probably one of the first books that I personally read about all of this, and it was incredible. So good. Yeah.
So good. So, it's not about all the things that you do. It's about what is the one thing that really, really matters that makes every other goal on your list easier or unnecessary.
Yeah, absolutely. Debra, this has been absolutely amazing. I really don't want this conversation to end, but we're going to put a bookmark right here and we're going to come back for a part 2 one of these days. But before we head out, we have a few more questions that we always ask.
Nothing, just 2. You say few and it's like 10 more.
It's more like 3, actually. But that's fine. We'll extend. Debra, first of all, where can people find you? Where can people connect with you if they want to sign up to one of your amazing webinars, right? And learn all about this predictable growth and how they can grow their business. Where should they go?
Yeah, so on any number of social platforms, the best way to find me is on LinkedIn. There aren't a lot of Deb Boulangers out there in the world, and I'm pretty recognizable. So Deb Boulanger, listen to the Life After Corporate podcast. That would really make my heart sing. So if you love the business advice that we shared today, there's lots more of it on Life After Corporate. And that's the best way. My email box is not the best way to reach me right now. It's a little overwhelming. But if you send me a message on social media and you say, you heard me on this show, then I will be sure to respond.
Yes. Thank you so much. That is absolutely amazing.
Just don't pitch me.
Yes, please don't.
Guys, we're going to leave all the links at the bottom. So make sure you scroll down, tap them all. Even if you need to open 5 tabs and then subscribe to the podcast, subscribe to the webinar, send her a message, not pitching her, right? And make a real connection. And also, if you want
that pricing calculator,
yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Fonzie.
Oh, no,
let's drop that in there. It's expertpricingcalculator.com. Expert is singular. There's no S. So expertpricingcalculator.com.
Right.
And if you want to download the 6-figure growth plan, it's 6figuregrowth.com, I believe.
Awesome. All right. Is that 6 spelled S-I-X or a number?
No, it's number 6, figure, F-I-G-U-R-E, growth.com.
Perfect. All right. We're going to leave those links. Yeah. Guys, make sure you get everything. But more importantly, instead of just collecting it and putting it in your hard drive, make sure you use them because that's where the real value is. Because I know sometimes shiny object syndrome kicks in and we just want to download a bunch of stuff and then we're complaining why my laptop is so slow. I don't have any memory. You got to use these things.
Yeah, awesome. Deb, last couple of questions. Fonzie gets crazy with the questions at the end of the show. So what is an action point for somebody that's like making that transition, right? They're in the middle of like creating their thing. They want to go full time. They're starting to publish too. Like they're going through these things. What is the one thing that they can do, today or tomorrow to continue that momentum?
Talk to your potential customers. Find out what worries them. Find out what their deepest desires are, find out what they've already done and what they want. In that conversation, if you take detailed verbatim notes of what they say, then you'll know what to publish. You'll know what to create, what product to create, and you'll know the intrinsic motivators for your ideal client audience.
Yes.
I love the little detail that you said there. Take detailed notes. Sometimes we have these conversations and then it's like it never happened because you maybe remembered like 2 or 3 things and then you're like, oh, okay, this was awesome, but I don't remember anything. So that was awesome. Yeah, and you can record it, transcribe it if you need to. Yeah. There's many tools, right? Yeah. There's many tools out there.
I'm gonna plug here something that we do, and if you have questions in regards to this, make sure you send us a message. We call it the PP board. Don't let your mind go there. Don't let your mind go there. It's about pain and pleasure.
Yes.
And the whole thing is you're asking them what are their pains, what are the pleasures, right? Those objectives that they're looking for. And just like Debra said, that can become literally all your content strategy. When you are sitting down and you're like, I want to create content, but I don't know what should I talk to. Guess what? You go to your PP board and you check one of those things and you said, I'm going to create a podcast episode on this pain that they have right now or on how they can achieve this pleasure. Extremely valuable. So thank you so much for the reminder. We might have to change the name of that board. I don't know.
I think people laugh and people so remember true. It. Yeah.
So perfect. Now, the very, very last question, and this is honestly a question that is like dear to our hearts. We ask it to every single guest. Very, very important. Debra, where would you be if you didn't publish, if you didn't share your message?
I would be in a desk job collecting a paycheck.
That is.
If I didn't. You said if I didn't.
If I didn't.
Yeah, if you didn't, yeah.
No.
Yeah, I mean, without a message, there's no mission, right? You know, how do you convey your mission, vision, values? How can you convey anything without your message? You might as well just keep the paycheck.
Yeah.
Was that too harsh?
That was so good. This is really what drives a lot of our publishing too. Like we look at these moments. For us, publishing has changed our lives. Is if it's if worst comes to worst, is the last thing to go. It's like this, like it would never go at some degree. Like, and we often say to our team, like, you guys are safe. Like this is like a lifelong thing, and this might take different shapes and forms, but publishing is always going to be a part of our lives because it did change it for the better with not only the people that we've met, but the amount of growth that we've experienced, the amount of traction. It helped us finally hire people. After 5 years of trying, 2 years ago, it was the first time that we were able to hire a team to do it. It's helped us to it's just incredible experience so far. So for us, it means so much. And, every time we ask this question, we get a lot of people getting emotional, right? Because it's a cornerstone of what they've done and an integral part of their success and how they're growing every single day in their business and in their personal lives. So thank you.
Yeah. I think it allows people to think, right? Like you say, right? What is that scenario that what would have happened if I wouldn't have done this? And it also allows you to be grateful for what you've done, right? It's like, wow, I've actually accomplished a lot. I've gone a long way, and transmitting that to the person that is listening right now is extremely important because they need to believe at the end of the day, they need to believe that they can be there as well, that they can be successful, because if they don't believe it, then it ain't going to happen. So thank you so much, Debra.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you, guys. It was so much fun to hang out with you.
Yeah, thank you. Is there anything else you want to add before we head out?
I don't think so. I think we dropped a lot of gems. I guess I have the ultimate PP headline. And this was back when I was doing the dating coaching thing. It was how to meet the love of your life without going on 100 bad dates.
Oh,
that's
so
good.
Good.
Yes.
Yeah. Sorority clap, please. Yes, let's go. Oh, that was good.
Yeah, I think that's perfect wrapper right there.
Thank you. With that said, guys, thank you so much for tuning into the Content's Profit Podcast. Go ahead and follow the show in your favorite platform and on social media at BIZBROS Go.
That is right. And if Debra here helped you move one step closer to your goal, please don't forget to share this episode and leave a 5-star review. See ya.
Bye, guys.